As the car runs through the mountain, the path suddenly turns into a stone pavement. It turns into a stone pavement and the car shakes and rattles. I mean, this is a mountain path. And the fact the path becomes a stone pavement means that it is important enough for people in the past to lay the pavement. It's in the middle of a mountain, and the stone pavement is so much older than the, say, Edo period, so that indicates how sacred this path is. Even castles rarely lay stone pavement around them, so having one is a sign that they are entering into such sacred land. But the father doesn't notice it and drives the car in a furious speed. On the storyboard, there's a comment that says the mom is used to the dad's reckless driving. That's why she doesn't change her facial expression. But for Chihiro, it was the first time to see her dad drive like that, so she's so surprised. And suddenly a tunnel shows up in front of them. And in front of the tunnel, there's something called sekijin, which is like a doll in the shape of a human. Those stone figures are typically excavated from ancient Japanese tombs in the northern part of Kyushu Prefecture. And you can tell that this sacred area has been developed quite a long time ago. So when the family wonders what this is and looks up above this red tunnel, you see unreadable letters. And there's some sort of a roof and a sign over here, but you can't read what it says. Although it actually says Aburaya, there's an instruction on the storyboard that says make them unreadable. So what continues from here is a theme park with a hot spring facility that's built before the economic bubble burst. But there's no real hot spring. I mean, because there's no spring source. Aburaya in the movie boils regular water with a charcoal kiln instead of natural hot spring, so it's a fake spa, but they still claim that it's hot spring village. I'll explain this more in details as they get to the town. But the car suddenly stops around 3 minutes past, since keep changing fast. It's only been 3 minutes 23 seconds since the Totoro logo and the title. So the parents enter the tunnel, the father seems unalerted and says, "Oh, it's just made of mortar. This building is pretty new." He talks like he knows what this place really is, but that's because he works in an architecture industry. That's how he knows so much about the architecture. So he doesn't care, but a strong wind blows from behind them, and they blow together and enter into the tunnel. That gives Chihiro a bad feeling, so she refuses strongly to go inside the building. This is at 4 minutes 18 seconds. She says, "I'm not going. Only the father and the mother go in." But when Chihiro glances at the stone figure, it's actually kind of hard to tell, but the camera zooms into the stone figure extremely slowly. You may notice it more easily if you look at the edge. The lens is closer to the subject in this picture compared to this one. The background flows outward. It's so subtle, but the scene is so carefully depicted with such a slow tracking shot where the camera gets closer to the figure. Chihiro's mind is captivated by it, and she's having a bad feeling. This is only a 2-second cut, so you can't really tell what's going on. By the way, there was originally a setting that this stone figure turns into a frog at night and spouts water from its mouth. But later they omitted the setting thinking that they would be going too far. But there is a scene where another stone figure spouts water from its mouth. Please think the reason why there is a river between the two worlds which prevents Chihiro to cross is because this guy eventually turns into a frog. So that's how they enter the building. Chihiro has a bad feeling, but still she ends up going inside. This is a scene where the father and the mother go inside the tunnel for the first time. The mortar wall is painted in red. This is a scene at the end. This is almost at the last scene. The family is coming back from the other world. Here, you see the same tunnel, but the stone figure has turned into a mere bollard, and the wall is a stone wall that is covered by trees. They aren't exactly the same tunnels in the beginning and at the end. So before they enter the tunnel, they're already being tricked. They have already entered the other world. So the mysterious world doesn't start when they come out of the tunnel, but before they enter it. Then when exactly do they cross the boundary line? Well, it's probably right when they pass by the small stone shrines that they enter the world of gods. So this is 5 minutes and 53 seconds. When they reach the end of the tunnel, they see a wide plain and an uphill stretching out, which later becomes like an ocean. And there's no one on that plain. This is 6 minutes and 50 seconds. As Chihiro gets worried and says, Mom, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. The mother just says, hurry up, Chihiro, but not even wants to look at Chihiro in the eyes. The father and the mother are actually in a good mood. When the mom loses her balance, the dad catches her saying, are you okay? And smile at each other, but they only tell Chihiro to hurry up. This is strange. There's a reason why both parents and especially the mother is acting cold to Chihiro, and I'm gonna go in depth on this. It's been said that parents are childlike, like young couples, so they leave Chihiro out, but there's no way, Miyazaki does something so meaningless. So after they leave the tunnel at 7 minutes and 38 seconds, they see a very strange scene spread out. They get to this point in 7 minutes and 38 seconds. It's even faster than some Hollywood movies. So you see these creepy billboards in the shape of an eye. Then as the camera pans down, you see the father and the mother, and Chihiro follows up the stairs. So this unmanned entertainment district spreads out. And this area is in between the real world and the illusionary world. So humans built a bunch of weird buildings to create a theme park in originally sacred area where gods lived, with the money that they earned just before the bursting of the bubble economy. That's how the monsters ended up inhabiting there. Chihiro's father says these are the remains of the bubble economy, but actually this kind of theme park was everywhere in Japan since Meiji period. So, for example, there used to be an observatory in Asakusa, Tokyo called Fujisan Soranjo. This is the brochure from the back then. They made a miniature of Mount Fuji in Asakusa Roku Entertainment District in Meiji 20th. It was 32 meters tall, so it was pretty tall. And not only that, people could climb it up to the top. There's a picture too. We only have one with low quality. You can see people riding bikes in the front, so you can compare the heights. But this is what was called Asakusa Fuji. Again, it's 32 meters tall, so it was pretty tall to the point that people could actually walk the path from the bottom to the top. However, it was destroyed in Meiji 23rd, and the famous Ryounkaku, or so-called Asakusa 12 stories, was built on that site. Many buildings like this were built in Asakusa, and they were in great numbers during the good times in Meiji and Taisho period. There were many famous leisure facilities. There was also a garden called Okuyama Fuke in Asakusa, which was called a department store of shrines and temples with all kinds of Shinto gods and Buddha available to worship. To Taisho period, that insult gods, or should I say ignore their sanctitude, which triggers a series of mysterious incidents.